So you simplified the business model, because we've been talking a lot this morning about recruitment and vision and culture and brand values. And I think that having a simplified business model with a specialist set of products and services does allow you to attract the right talent and the right people, and makes it a much easier business and an organization to run. Would you agree?
I would totally agree. In fact, the secret sauce that took me way too long to realize, about 4 years into the business, we'd really grown. It was blowing up. The business was doing so well. But then people started to leave.
Yeah.
And I was frustrated because these people were leaving and going to companies that I felt, we should be competing for these people. And I remember this realization, talking to someone one day. I'm like, why are you leaving? Is it more money? They're like, no, it's not more money. I'm like, why is it? They're like, Simon, the clients dictate everything. So in my mind, as a service company, I was working for CNN at this point, Estee Lauder, these big brands. To me, they were the client, right? Because I was selling. So to me, they were the client. Turned out, as I started to lose good people, they weren't the client. The client was actually the creative people that were doing the work. The Helen that I first started the business with. Without Helen, this business wouldn't exist. So I could sell all day long, and brands would then come to us, but I don't have the ability to execute, then there's nothing to sell. So I changed the business model, and I started saying internally, our client is the creatives that work for us. So we would fight for them. So a client would say, can you get this campaign ready by 12 o'clock tomorrow? And I'd say, that is impossible. No, we can't do it.
Yeah.
And if the creative was dealing with the client themselves, they'd have a real tension. But I was able to protect the creatives and allow them to do their job. And sometimes a client would say, isn't it easy to come up with a marketing campaign just like that? Just tell us your ideas. And we're like, no, it takes time to really flush out who are the competitors, what the right strategy for you is, how it's on brand. We need 3 months. Like 3 months? But I learned very quickly that if I defended the creatives, they all wanted to work for us. And that's ended up what happened. All the top talent wanted to work with us because we were working for them.
Brilliant.
And then the clients, ironically, would come to us because we had the top talent. And I think I translated this later in life to purpose. What is the purpose of your business? Not what you do and how you do it. We all know that. But why does the business exist? And at that point, that business, I realized the purpose was to protect creatives who are often abused, used, underpaid, and we became that company, not necessarily the company that worked for CNN, which sounded cool, but wasn't a purpose.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Can everybody hear the same message in what Simon's saying to exactly what we've been talking about all morning? Yeah, about your why and about looking after your people and building that right culture, and so it just echoes all of the things that we've discussed, which is fantastic. What sort of headcount did you have in that business? How many people?
So in the end, we had full-time 50 people, and I had a whole network of, you'd win work and you'd suddenly have to scale up to do it, like big digital projects. Suddenly you need 100 people, or sometimes 200 people. If we had a whole agency roster, any one time, normally 200 people on the payroll.
Brilliant.
But it would depend a lot. And I'd keep it quite nimble. I'd have the core team, and then we'd have a lot of freelancers as well.
So what was it like going to Hong Kong and doing business in another country? Because the way that you just rolled it over made it sound so simple and so easy, and just arrive in Hong Kong and start a business. But the language barriers, the culture of the country, the paperwork, the services, how did you overcome all of that stuff?
So I think probably everybody in this room can relate to this. Sometimes, you have a gut instinct to do something and then problems will come your way, but because you've already committed, you kind of work your way through them.
Yeah.
Right? And I think because I got there and I was on this, tax dodge model, I think that I became, by the way, kind of an ambassador for Hong Kong, and Invest HK, a big government organisation, put me up on stage to talk about everyone should go to Hong Kong and set up a business, right? And then one time, one of the ministers asked me, well, why did you actually come here? I'm like, for business opportunities. I did not mention the tax dodge. But when I first got there, I hated it. And I think I've had this experience every major change I've ever made. Initially, it is hard to make a change, right? Move to a different location, start a new business. It's always going to have that element of pain at the beginning. But once I've dedicated myself to something, I push through. So when I got there, I was living in the wrong location. And so I realized quite quickly I was living in the tourist location, so I moved to the non-tourist location. So that removed one pain point, because suddenly I was able to mix with people like me that had moved there. And then once I started the business, I found that I had a sense of purpose for being there. And I noticed that a lot of people there, this was in the handover of Hong Kong back to China, so a lot of people left, and that meant there was a big talent gap, people needing help with their businesses, and a lot of people wanted to go from China to America and Europe. And of course, a lot of people want to go from America and Europe into China, and Hong Kong is that perfect hub mix of the two. So I just got so excited about the opportunity business-wise that I kind of overcame the cultural problems initially that I felt. It's a very monetalistic, if that's a word, a place that people are about, like how much money you've got. And initially I found that hard because I wasn't rich by some of the people in Hong Kong are mega rich, like mega rich. So I'm going on a Sunday to someone's super yacht, and I've hardly got any money compared to these guys, and it was very intimidating. But slowly but surely, I found my feet, and I actually then at one point thought, I don't like it. I moved to Thailand for 6 months, opened up a company there, and then realised actually I love it in Hong Kong because there's so many high flyers there. That pressure of everyone being above you, actually, I turned out I loved. So I moved back to put myself back in that place where I could achieve.
I mean, that's an achievement in itself, getting around all of these high net worths. How did you do that? Because I think a big part of the Millionaire Mastermind concept that we've created here is about spending time with the right people. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
I wish I'd known that, by the way.
You're going to be a loser. You hang around with millionaires, you're going to become a millionaire.
It's true. And again, I hear this now a lot. But when I was younger, I think I was just attracted to people that had purpose. That had ambition. And, people my age were still at university and they were getting drunk, and I went and got myself involved sometimes in those nights out, but I always came away with I don't want to waste my life doing this. I like building my businesses, I like doing stuff. And I think when I got to Hong Kong, it was like, the thing I've learned is I don't need to go to law school for 10 years to hire a lawyer. I can just hire a lawyer. I don't need to learn. I think I also realized that I could, by helping billionaires, I could be in the room with billionaires. So I figured out quite quickly in Hong Kong what value I could bring to those networks, partly because, not because I knew what you were talking about, I didn't know that it was good to hang out with these people and that would be ultimately rub off on me. I just wanted to service them in a way that they could then fund my business so I could grow the company. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
I didn't see them as people I wanted to hang out with necessarily. There's people I wanted to do business with. But what was shocking to me and a revelation to me in Hong Kong, which I never felt in England, is when I went to Hong Kong, I remember a billionaire asking me, Simon, on Sunday, come to my super yacht, come and hang out with the family and stuff. And I just remember thinking, that's so not England, because in England, business and personal life, very separate. It felt weird that someone had invited me to come on his super yacht, right? That was weird. And then I realized over time that it's a brilliant way to live. He didn't separate his business life and his personal life. I've followed that mantra ever since. There is no separation from my personal life and business. I just no separation. And some people that's mad. I love it because it means you align everything. I'm not going home and telling my wife, "Oh, I'm working till midnight tonight." She's with me. She's involved. She knows, and I don't have to explain. Even my son, who's 5 years old, joins me on my social media.
Fantastic.
He is involved in my social media. He knows what I'm doing today. I told him this morning clearly. And I like that. I like that. And Hong Kong taught me that. Being on the super yacht, we did loads of business things on that Sunday, but I also got to see, what his partner was like, what his pressures are like, what his friends are like, what his business colleagues are like. They're all there. And I learned so much by learning that don't worry about mixing the two together.
It's really interesting. I mean, because me personally, I've always kept them completely separate. And, after listening to what you're saying, I don't actually know why. It's almost like my business life is my business life and my personal life is my personal life. And I try not to talk about the two. Even though I don't really have a personal life, I'm just always working. So it's probably easy to keep them.
Well, they're
probably intertwined more than what I actually think, because all I do is work. But that's really.
But if you have a successful relationship, you can do that. I commend you. I would not be happily married today if my wife and I. So Helen, that lady I was telling you about, is now my wife. So I married the talent. That's how I kept her. But equally, I
all in. Let's give a round of applause. He's all in.
All in. Yeah. And even today, by the way, she's designing a logo for one of our new platforms. So even today, she's still, and it makes a big difference to me because I don't have to explain to her what I'm doing. And she knows how I work as well. So I remember investing in someone and they were working out of my office. And I remember at midnight them having that phone call with their partner saying, I'm working on this business, I really want to make it work. And they put them on loudspeaker and like, well, your dinner's burnt and that's it for us. I'm tired and sick and tired of never seeing you. That's it. Breaking up with him on the phone. And I remember putting the loudspeaker off and we were like, well, it's not the one for you, is it? You know, it's like, no, it's not the one for me. It's important to do what you love. I just think people do make their lives a little harder by separating everything. And I see it in life. Causes lots of pain.
How did you get around the billionaires? Was that Helen? Did she already have the connects to just go and meet these guys?
I don't want to give her all the credit, but I will give her a good 80% of it because she went to school in Hong Kong.
Oh, nice.
So again, I left school at 15, so that school network never came my way.
Me too.
So marry into it. That's the other way to go. And she was basically at school with all the kids of the billionaires.
Nice.
Who have all now, by the way, taken over the family enterprises, which is a very traditional thing in China. The second generation take over the business, which doesn't equate to here again, but they're, that's what happened. So yeah, she introduced me to a few people, and again, it was all social that turned into business, and even today, a lot of those kids, well, not kids anymore, are friends of mine. And,
Fantastic.
But I was friends with the kids first before I became friends with their father or mother.
Yeah, okay, right, nice, excellent. So I know you sold that business for a big figure, and what happened then? You decided to come back to the UK, you stayed there, or?
Yeah, so for tax reasons again, I stayed in Hong Kong. I like paying tax, I don't mind paying tax, but if you can avoid it, why wouldn't you? I'm not sure the government spends it that wisely anyway. But so I sold the company, and basically April to April financial year, I stayed in Hong Kong for 6 months, and my wife and I made a list of 10 places that maybe we'd move to. I was actually loving Hong Kong, just to say. I was, at that point, 20 years there. My network was incredible. I flew in. I'd already started another business called Nest, which was investing in startups. I've already had another hobby, and I was just loving it. And then my wife said to me, why don't we have a different experience and live somewhere else? And I'm like, well, I moved to Hong Kong and I'm living in Asia and I love it. 2 hours from Bangkok, 6 hours from Bali, long weekends and blah, blah, blah. And she said, yeah, but I want to have a baby and I would like to maybe experience somewhere else because I basically grew up in Hong Kong. This isn't new for me. I know it. So we made a list of places, and actually it was a great experience to go for. Like, if you could live anywhere in the world, where would you live? And in the end, we came up with LA. We wanted to go live in the US, and then Trump got elected. And I don't know if there's any Trump fans here, so sorry if I say it. I just couldn't stand the idea of living in America when Trump was president. So we scrubbed it off the list and said, why don't we just go back to England first and just experience England initially. And then I moved back here and fell in love with England again, to be honest. I love the sense of humour here. It's my people. Good sense of, as I say, of like, I think good sense of nature here. There's a lot of fun things. So having a kid here made sense for me.
Yeah.
And so when I moved back here, for me, it was initially just to have fun, like I said, to retire. And then I saw what a mess England was in, and I said, I better come back and help a little bit if I can.
Yeah, fantastic, excellent.